All right, we are diving into a pretty incredible real-life tale of modern espionage. This is all about the global shadow war for technology and the unbelievably high-stakes operation that brought one Chinese spy to justice right inside an American courtroom.
It all really comes down to this one single chilling line. And this wasn't spoken in a movie. This was said in a real Cincinnati federal court by one career spy to another. You know that one quote, it just perfectly captures the brutal reality of this game. The winner walks, and the loser, well, the loser faces decades behind bars.
So, the big question is, how did we even get to that dramatic moment in the courtroom? Well, our story really kicks off by introducing the two key players, two men on completely opposite sides of a new kind of Cold War, one that's not fought with armies but with secrets and, a whole lot of deception.
So on one side, you have Xu Yanjun. He's this ambitious, up-and-coming officer for China's really powerful intelligence service, the MSS. And on the other side, Jim Olsen, a decorated, now retired CIA case officer who spent years working undercover. I mean, both these guys were experts in spycraft. Both were serving their countries. The only difference? One of them was just better at not getting caught.
But look, this story is about so much more than just two spies. The stakes were absolutely enormous. The prize they were fighting over was American technology that gives a massive competitive edge, the kind of innovation that, frankly, supports millions of jobs. This personal showdown was really just one battle in a much, much larger war.
So let's rewind a bit. Let's go back to 2017 to see how this whole thing kicked off. And, like a lot of modern spy plots, it didn't start with some secret handoff in a dark alley. Nope, it began with a friendly, totally harmless-looking message on a professional networking site.
And Zhu wasn't after just any old piece of technology. He was targeting the absolute crown jewel of GE Aviation, their composite fan blade technology. This stuff made their newest jet engines lighter and way more fuel efficient than anything else on the market. It was their secret sauce, something competitors had literally spent fortunes trying to copy and failed every time.
And here's how they'd baited the hook. A simple invitation sent over LinkedIn to a GE engineer, asking him to come give a lecture at a Chinese university. They flattered him, they offered to pay for the whole trip, and hey, it was also a great chance for him to visit family back home. It was the perfect cover. Totally professional, seemed legit, and it played right into his ego.
And the plan actually worked, at first. The engineer went to China, and against all company rules, he took sensitive files with him for his talk. But when GE and law enforcement caught wind of it, oh man, the entire game changed. The FBI stepped in, and suddenly the hunter was about to become the hunted.
Now, with the FBI controlling all his communications, the GE engineer became a textbook double agent. He was pretending to be working for Xu, but in reality, every single message, every request, it was all being run by the FBI. Xu thought he was reeling in a valuable source. He had no idea he was the one being played.
And Xu, completely buying it, sends over his shopping list. And this wasn't vague stuff. He was asking for super specific design details about the composite fan, the casing, even the exact software GE was using. This was a clear, documented wish list for stealing trade secrets.
Then came the absolute smoking gun. Xu sent the engineer these literal step-by-step instructions on how to copy his entire company laptop, a directory of every single file. For prosecutors, this was pure gold. It was undeniable proof of his intent right there in his own words.
So the FBI had all the evidence they needed, but they had one huge problem. Xu was in China. He was totally beyond the reach of U.S. law enforcement. They couldn't just go arrest him. So they had to come up with a plan to lure him out of the country.
And here is how the sting went down. It was brilliant. First, the FBI, pretending to be the engineer, sends Zhu a fake list of files from the laptop, just to get him really excited. He bites. Then the FBI has the engineer say he's too busy to go to China, but he'll be in Europe for work. After some back and forth, Zhu agrees to meet in Brussels to finally get his hands on the data. And on April 1st, he lands and is immediately arrested by Belgian authorities working with the FBI. The trap had sprung.
So capturing Xu was a major tactical win, no question. But his story really pulls back the curtain on a much larger conflict. See, his mission wasn't just some random act. It was one move on a global chessboard, part of a state-directed campaign to basically reshape the world's economy.
Xu Yanjun was extradited to the U.S., convicted of economic espionage, and sentenced to 20 years in federal prison. And you gotta understand, this was a historic verdict. It was one of the very first times a Chinese MSS officer had ever been prosecuted like this.
So you have to wonder, why take such a crazy risk? Well, because Yu wasn't just working for himself. He was fulfilling a national mandate, taking orders that were directly aligned with this massive industrial policy from Beijing called Made in China 2025.
And this policy, it lays out, clear as day, all the high-tech industries that China plans to dominate, not just at home, but globally. And would you look at that list? Commercial aircraft is right there near the top, along with robotics, biotech, you name it. The message is pretty clear. If we can't innovate fast enough to build it ourselves, we'll acquire the technology by any means necessary.
And this quote from an expert really just connects all the dots. For decades, China has tried and struggled to build its own world-class jet engines. So when legitimate development hits a wall, they start looking for, let's call them, alternative means. And as this whole case shows, those means definitely include espionage.
The takedown of Zhu Yanjun was a clear win for U.S. counterintelligence, but it also exposed the incredible scale and ambition of China's efforts, and it leaves us with a really critical question. For every single spy that gets caught, how many succeed? This one case might be closed, but the game is far from over.